Welcome back, guys. This is episode 4 of the Kaiser progression series. This episode is going to be fully dedicated to the Chaos Bonbon fight, otherwise known as the chicken fight. To start off with, I only used a few buffs. I think, Green Pot, Red Pot, and the Hero's Echo, or the Nova equivalent. So I didn't really buff up for this fight too hard. So my range isn't that high, it's probably like around 800 to 900k right now. I also didn't use all of my links. I think I only used like 4 or 5 links. Because the chicken fight actually isn't that hard. Chicken has 100 billion HP, but the mechanics are relatively simple, and you can manipulate the time, so you can actually have like about 20 minutes or maybe even more than that if you don't have that much damage. So as I'm playing the fight in the background, I'm just going to be explaining some of the mechanics of Chaos Bonbon. I did say that the fight was relatively simple, but I'll be honest, I did have to practice several times before I got the fight down. Luckily, there is a practice mode now, so as long as you did your 10 normal chicken runs, you can practice Chaos Chicken 5 times a day, and also you can just enter chicken every 30 minutes. So I definitely recommend, if you're trying to solo this with low damage, you definitely practice the mechanics a while. So for the first half of the fight, or rather I say the first like 25% of the HP, Chaos, the chicken usually only does the that projectile attack, and he does like a swing if you're within melee range. Other than that, he doesn't really do much. Other than like every 20 seconds he teleports. You can use that to your advantage because he summons these white and purple clocks, and if you lure him to the dark clocks, then it actually regenerates the amount of time that you have. So if you use this mechanic, then you can actually extend the time that you have. So right there, around 70% HP, like 65, Chaos Bonbon did a jump attack. That's honestly the most dangerous mechanic that he has. Every like 10 or 15 seconds he jumps, and if you're not in the air when he lands, then you just automatically get one shot. For me, honestly, that is the most difficult mechanic. So also he starts doing this one mechanic where he memorizes where you are. He puts like a shadow down where you are, and he will teleport you back to that location. But honestly, that mechanic isn't really too big of big trouble. So right there, yeah, you can see that he'll teleport you back to where that shadow is. Usually I don't. Okay, there I just teleported into the projectile because I couldn't see the projectile. I definitely recommend for new players, you should lower your skill transparency down all the way, because with the clocks and your skill effects, it's honestly makes it really difficult to see the chicken effects. Okay, so right there, I almost get teleported into the projectile. That's honestly like one of the, probably that and the jump is like the only two things that should really pose a threat. To avoid that, you should always be on the ground when he sends down, puts the shadow down. And if you stay ducking, then even if he teleports you into the projectile, you'll stay ducked and you can't get hit. And usually, I don't think I've ever had an instance where he teleported me into a jump, like a jump attack. I don't think that's possible. So the only thing you should be worrying about is getting teleported into a projectile. So the biggest trouble I found with Kaiser in particular is because my attack speed isn't very high. I don't have decent speed efficient or the inner ability. The cast time for my Gigas Wave was actually kind of long, so I would end up dying a lot because he would jump when I'm mid-cast and he would just land before I could react. So around this HP, he starts doing this spatial collapse mech. You basically just have to enter the portal and hit him a bunch of times. And every like second you take about like a quarter or a fifth of your HP. The only danger in that mechanic is if you get close to him, he'll whack you for like 70% of your HP. So if you get whacked and you take the tick damage at the same time, there's a very high chance that you'll die unless you're full HP and you're just putting up. So there you see I was in the middle of my Gigas Wave animation and I just get bodied by the stomp. And in the second phase, if you die, he'll stay in this like suspended animation for like 20-30 seconds, and honestly it's a huge waste of time. So if you're pressed for time, I really recommend you try to avoid dying. Obviously, I did buy like a few buff freezers for this fight. There are 5 mil a pop in the cash shop, and if you're relying on a lot of buffs, definitely recommend buying buff freezers for the actual fight. I think yeah. So around this HP, he stopped summoning the clocks, so it's no longer possible to extend the duration of the fight. So from here on, you just have to DPS as hard as you can. So right there, I just stayed ducked, and even though he teleported me, he teleported me under the projectile. You just have to either jump over it or just duck. I do have to mention that Chicken is way easier than the other boss fights. After this, I did try Queen and Clown, and while they were almost doable, they honestly are a lot harder. Overall, this fight took 12 minutes, and like I said earlier, you can technically have up to 20 minutes. So honestly, this fight was very easy. But just being able to do Clown alone doesn't really mean anything, because just because you get the top, it doesn't, the armor isn't really worth it, but just by itself. So you can wait until you can do all 4 or at least 3 doors all together, because there's not really any meaning in just doing Chicken. But I was kind of curious to just see how early I could do Chicken, so I would say about 600k range, maybe, without no, because I have like plus 3 boost nodes right now. That's pretty much about it. So I think about 600-700k range, if you have good mechanics, is a good spot to start attempting Chicken. Yeah, during this phase, it's kind of hard to keep hitting him because he does do the space-time collapse every like minute or so, which does take a lot of time. So yeah, so again, the jump is pretty much the most lethal part of the fight, so I would recommend just like after 10 or so seconds after the last jump, just start taking it slow and start watching out for the jump. That's probably the best way to do this fight. So 5:40 minutes remaining. Honestly, yeah, the time was pretty close, but again, I didn't really focus on extending the time because I knew I had the damage to do it this fight relatively fast. So there at around 10% HP starts doing the wing mechanic where he teleports to a random spot and then he pushes you back. This is dangerous because not only does the pushback do like 50% of your HP, but the meteorites or the falling clocks do a lot of damage. I think the big clocks one shot, those purple big clocks, and then the smaller clocks do 50% of your HP. So if you get knocked back into like one of the clocks, it's pretty much you just instantly die. But yeah, the trick is to just stay about the distance that I'm at, and you see there, if you try and get close again, you get knocked back. So just keep your distance and hit him if you have any decent range attack. Luckily, Kaiser, even though it is a melee class, it does have its Gigas Wave is pretty range. So yeah, there I was able to complete the Chaos Vamban, defeat Chaos Vamban for the first time, and it felt really good. Being able to be a new boss in Maplestory, it does really it does feel really good, and that is why I don't recommend people get carried, because it does take out a lot of fun of the game. So I just barely did get 5 pieces, which allowed me to get the top. So again, like I mentioned, that is my range buff 1.2 mil, but like I mentioned, it's not enough for Queen and Clown, and so I think the next episode will be me gearing up some more. Yep, thanks for watching.